Settling finances in a divorce can be a very difficult process, so our next guests are here to help. Please welcome real estate expert Bryan Devore and his guest, certified divorce financial analyst, Carlie Headapohl.
And he's back.
Yes.
Mr. Devore.
Yeah, how you doing?
What's up, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Great to have you here. You brought a special guest today.
I did.
Tell us about him.
Very excited. So, on one of your shows in the past, I talked about Divorce Home Solutions, which is a program that my friend Jamie Shapiro and I put together to help people who are going through divorce with every aspect of the home, whether it be they want to keep the home, they want to sell the home, help them with that, help them with the move, packing, unpacking, etc. And throughout the process of setting up this program, we've had the good opportunity to meet some wonderful professionals who help people going through divorce. Carlie is one of those fine people, and she's a certified divorce financial analyst, which I had never heard of before until we met. And so I was excited to bring her on to talk about what she does.
Carlie, thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
In a divorce, there's obviously a lot of financial implications. So I think the difficult part for most people is that they're just going to sort of look to their attorney for advice, and the attorney has a specific objective that relates to, the law and, creating essentially the Bible for the relationship going forward, which is the marriage settlement agreement, but not necessarily do they understand or have the wherewithal to know what to do with the finances.
Right.
Is that, my guess is that's where you kind of fit into the equation?
Yeah, I fit in because for a lot of people, in the divorce financial settlement will be the largest financial transaction of their life. And a lot of times, a lot of emotion gets mixed in with the decision making related to their settlement, and it helps to, one of my themes is let's try to keep as much money in your family as possible. And you're entering into this, what I call, it's like going to a foreign country. I call it divorce land, where you don't know the language and you don't know the laws, and so you need the right tools for the job. So you need legal advice, you need financial support, sometimes you need real estate professionals to get involved to help identify options that you have in your divorce settlement. Sometimes you need a tax expert. So you need to get the right tools for the job. That ultimately will help reduce the overall cost of your divorce. That would be the goal.
Yeah, and a lot of times what we see is people end up fighting over something that's worth $500,
Yes.
and they spend $10,000 in legal fees. That's a big issue.
That's a big
for a lot
issue,
of
and
people.
I just hate seeing that happen. I'm just frugal by nature, and when I see that, I try to tell people, you always have to do that cost-benefit analysis. Doesn't make sense to spend more fighting over something than it's worth, and try to focus on the net dollars, maximizing those net dollars in your pocket.
Yeah,
So.
in most cases, if you go through and you just say, hey, all right, what are the demands from the other side? And you look at it and you just, usually, in most cases, if you just say, okay, that's probably the cheapest thing that you can do.
Right.
Unless they're being outrageous.
Right.
In most cases, if you can just say, okay, then you will save yourself so much mind, so much heartache.
Yeah, conflict's expensive.
Totally, especially in this situation. And this is why I think what you're doing, Bryan, is so cool with Divorce Home Solutions, because divorce is one of those things that, when you're in it, it consumes you. Once you're out of it, or if someone is not in it or not hearing about it, then it's so someone else's problem. It's so something that could never happen to you.
Right.
But these days, it seems like, and I think this just happened, where the number of marriages that end in divorce just eclipsed 50%. For a long time, it was in the 40s, and then the high 40s, and then it got around 50, and now it's actually over 50. So more than half of people who get married are getting divorced, and it's becoming a common thing.
Right.
But it's still not any less complex than it was when people rarely did it.
And when you're in the middle of a divorce, and I know this from experience too, you're being asked to make the largest financial decisions of your life in a situation that is the most stressful situation of your life. And you can't make good, sound decisions when you're under stress. And that's one of the reasons why I like what Carlie does. And she has great tools to help people keep the money in the family, because you can't really see it because you have other issues going on, emotional issues involved. You can't really see the forest for the trees. You're going to want to look back on it and say, okay, we did the right thing, if you can.
Carlie, do you basically just draw a diagram? It's like, this is your money, okay? This is your money. This is his money. These are your attorney's pockets. And this is your money pouring into their pockets.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's not just attorneys' pockets. There's so many other people that get involved in the divorce, and it's extremely costly. And so it's really just trying to say, hey, let's do the cost-benefit analysis. How is this going to actually advance your settlement negotiation? And are you going to end up with more dollars after you spend all this money chasing this issue, if you will? And the problem with divorce is there really are no do-overs. So if you make all these decisions driven by emotion, and a few years down the line you go, oh, why didn't anyone tell me about taxes? Or why didn't anyone explain this to me? You can't go back and redo it.
Right.
So you really do want to get it right as best you can
Well,
during the
crucial.
process, and trying to, so I act kind of as that third party, try to take the emotion out of the decisions. Or if you're going to make a decision driven by emotion, at least understand the implications. What are the pros and cons? What are the implications to you, not just today, but maybe 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? Thinking further ahead so that you have, I call it eyes wide open decision making.
It's true, and when I say that that marriage settlement agreement is the Bible for your
Yes.
relationship moving forward, it really is. That becomes the textbook that you refer to
Right.
for all of the
Yep.
laws
Right.
of your relationship. So it's really, really important to take a look at it. And you're right, there are other things involved, and people sometimes will overpromise a little bit. I
Yep.
know there's one situation recently where I've been talking to someone who she, in the marriage settlement agreement, agreed to give her husband half of the supposed equity that there was in the house.
Right.
And they put the number out there instead of saying half of whatever it sells for minus the expenses, which is what they should have done. Instead, she said, oh, well, this is what it's worth. Here's what we owe. We'll give you
Right.
half of that.
Yeah.
Didn't think about cost of sale. Didn't think about market fluctuations. Didn't think about, is the value even correct?
And she had no one really guiding
Oh,
her.
so she put the
decision.
actual number.
Put the number in.
Wow.
$95,000.
And her attorney let her do that, huh?
That's what I'm saying. So the attorneys don't necessarily know. They go, oh, okay, that's half. Sure, sounds good. Check that off the list. I got 90 other things I'm working on over here.
Right.
Now what we're finding out is if she sells it at market value, she should get just definitely enough to pay him his 95, but she's going to get very little.
Oh.
So he's getting most all the equity.
He's getting almost all the equity.
Right.
Because the way that what they had promised in that agreement, they overpromised.
Well, and it's the devil's in the details. I mean, it does matter how these things are written. And so that was a classic example of the intent was we're going to split the equity.
Fair, yeah.
But somehow it ended up that a dollar amount was assigned to
Right.
that.
Well,
And it's a hypothetical until the house sells. Nobody
And that's why I
knows.
like having someone like Carlie involved, even in our situation, in what I do. People are deciding if they're going to keep the house or sell the house. And Carlie said about half the people keep it, half the people sell it. But how many of those people, really go through the details and really understand it and meet with someone like Carlie who can say, what about this? Have you thought about this? And how is you keeping the house going to affect your ability to fund your kids' college? Maybe it won't. They really need to understand it. So, yeah, like you said, it's the Bible. It's what is always referred back to, and you want to do it right the first time.
Yeah, you got to get that playbook.
Because,
at least
there
set
are
up
no
fair.
do-overs.
Yeah, you can't go back and redo the MSA. Bryan, real quick on
Yeah.
Divorce Home Solutions. I mean,
Yeah.
are most of the people who are coming to you, is it after they've got an attorney and they realize the attorney's not necessarily handling all the other details that you guys handle, and then they come to you, or do people come to you prior to engaging in an attorney?
It's kind of both. We get people in a lot of different ways. We started a support group, which is not so where you have the business of divorce, but we also have the emotional part too. We started a support group that no one else is doing. We have 45 people who are going, and they're just starting the process. So they may come to us when they're just beginning the process. We get people who have already gone to the mediator, and the mediator is going to say, okay, we have some. I'm working with some clients who need to sell their home. If Carlie has someone, we'll work with mortgage people as well. So it's kind of the whole gamut of the divorce process. The earlier they get to us, the better. And we're going to make sure that if they come to us first, but they should probably see her first, we're going to take them there and make sure it's a closed loop and get the whole team on board to help them.
Well, one of the biggest problems with the home is such an emotional asset for people. If you can get them in front of Divorce Home Solutions, there's a lot of inertia built in because it's a huge change. Just sometimes people have lived in their homes for 10, 20, 30 years. It's so overwhelming, just the thought of trying to move and pack up and do all that,
Right.
knowing that there's help out there with that process is, I think, can help people move forward with the decision, maybe to sell the house.
Unclog
Yeah,
them.
because they
brain.
just can't see, it's opaque. That whole future is so opaque, and it's such a big issue and so emotional that even just, hey, there's resources out there to help you
And it's not
get
just
through that process
right,
of
and
the
move
physical
and unpack
move.
and decorate.
Yeah.
Because these people don't want to have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, well, you guys are doing a great thing. I really appreciate what you're
Thank
doing
you.
in the community.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for your time
Really
today.
appreciate
Absolutely.
having
Great
us.
stuff. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.